Hey there, welcome. Today I want to talk about making mistakes and showing people your mistakes. Hey there, thank you so much for being here. My name is Felicia from SweetGeorgia, and this is Taking Back Friday. This is a place where we come every Friday and we talk about something to do with knitting or spinning or weaving or dyeing. I talk a lot about the fiber arts and how important it is to make time to make things. I have been making many things on many of the looms in here in the house. Now, if this is your first time here, welcome. This is my attic. Again, we used to film all of the Taking Back Friday videos here in the attic at my house with the big giant loom, but we have since moved to the studio, but you know, trying to go back and forth and do a lot of filming because I have stuff here at home as well as stuff at the studio. So in any case, let me tell you a little bit about the thing that's on this loom right now. So this loom is the Louette spring loom. This is a 44-inch wide loom, or it's called the 110 centimeter loom. It's an 8-shaft loom. This is a counter marsh loom. I love this loom. This is like the first loom that I ever bought myself. And I had done all this research about what loom to get. You know, I'd used a jack loom at school. I'd used a counterbalance loom at school. And from what I learned from my weaving teacher, the counter marsh was kind of like the best of all worlds. It was just, it did everything, and it did everything beautifully and well. The only thing was that you had to spend a little bit more time on the floor doing tie-ups and things like that. But when it actually came to sitting at the loom and weaving, this was like the most wonderful loom to sit at. And so this is the first loom that I ever bought myself. Now, I have here on the loom right now a twill gamp. You might be wondering, what's a twill gamp? So a gamp is basically something where you're able to try out a number of different combinations of things all at the same time. So in this particular case, you can see I have like 4 sections here. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 different sections, and each one of these sections has been threaded differently through the heddles. So the first section is straight draw, the second one is a point twill, the third one is a broken twill, and the fourth one is rose path. So just different kinds of threadings. Now, as I'm weaving this, I can do different treadling patterns. So the first treadling pattern I'm doing is just like trying to make a straight twill. And so the straight twill will make diagonal lines in the first section, but what will it do to the rose path section? What will it do to the broken twill section? And so working with all of these different combinations, like there's 4 combinations here, and if I treadle them with the same combinations in the treadling pattern, then I get 16 completely different patterns. And then if I continue on and do different treadling patterns, then I'll see even more different patterns. So when I finally finish this twill gamp, I'll have 32 completely different patterns to look at. And so part of the reason why I'm doing this is many reasons, actually. One of the reasons is because I am playing with this new yarn that we just got. It's actually just been released by Just Yarn, and it's called Beam. So this yarn is a 2-ply yarn. It's very strong. This yarn is very strong. When I first learned how to weave, I watched my weaving teacher just break yarn everywhere. Like, you know, whenever you're reaching for scissors, she's like, oh, you don't need scissors, just break the yarn. And so I got into the habit of breaking all of the yarn as I'm going through and doing things. This yarn is unbreakable. It's so strong. And so, yeah, I have to use scissors for this yarn. It's very strong. And so you want your weaving yarn to be strong for sure. So this is something that I'm just kind of testing out to see how it looks once it's woven up. So that's one thing that I'm playing with. They have recommended a number of different sets or densities. So twill, like what we're doing here, is recommended between 14 and 16 ends per inch. And so right now I'm sort of like trying the happy medium, which is 15. And so I'm using a 10 dent reed, and then I've slayed it 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, so that I can get 15 ends per inch in the warp. So let me tell you about the mistakes that I've made so far. So in talking about the set being 14 to 16 is the range, and I've picked 15, I am finding that as I'm weaving this, that it's really hard to actually pack the weft in so that I get as many picks per inch as ends per inch. And so I feel like the pattern of what I've created with my weaving is not totally balanced. So I'm not getting the same number of ends per inch as picks per inch. They're slightly different. So I feel like these shapes that should be perfect squares and perfect diamonds are not. They're a little bit elongated, and so that's not good. And so I'm finding, because it's hard to pack the weft in, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this whole thing over again, and I'm going to make it and separate out the ends so that they're a little bit, they have a little bit more room, so that hopefully the weft has more space to pack down into. So I'm going to reslay this for 14 ends per inch for the next project and see if that does any better. The other thing about this is that, you know, straight threading is very, very straightforward. It's 4 3 2 1 4 3 2 1 4 3 2 1. So that's easy to kind of like remember and all this kind of stuff. The next one is point twill. So it's 1 2 3 4 3 2 1 2 3 4 3 2 1. So that's also kind of easy to remember. Broken twill I find was like confusing for me. And then the rose path one, I was just getting really lost. And so the more and more and more I look at my work, the more I'm like, I think that's a mistake. I think that's a mistake. I think that's a mistake. And so I'm seeing tiny little mistakes here and there because I have misthreaded things, because I've just got lost track of what I was threading and what number I was at, even though I stopped and I recounted everything and I thought that I checked every single heddle. I still made some mistakes. And so the one that I found very early on, it was quite easy to correct. I basically had woven about 3 inches. I ended up having to take all that yarn out so that I could start again, untie the front, and then I made myself, you can kind of see here, maybe, there is a pink heddle that I've made here for myself, because that's a little repair heddle that's holding that thread that was misthreaded. So I just fixed that and then all of that. But now I'm pretty sure that I've made some other mistakes in this threading here, so I want to do that again as well. Now, I want to share about all these mistakes and things like that, because I think that I don't have expectations that my work will be perfect at all times forever and ever. I am learning just as much as anybody is learning. I'm putting things on the loom, trying things out, you know, working with new yarn that I'm not super familiar with, and seeing kind of what happens. If I hit it on the nail right at the very beginning, then I wouldn't try different things. I wouldn't try a different set. I wouldn't try different ways of setting up the loom. I wouldn't try other things. And so there's less room for learning. So I feel like mistakes are okay. Mistakes and learning from your mistakes is okay. Now, the reason why this has kind of come up is because I've been posting pictures of this. You know, I've been posting pictures of this twill gamp, and it looks pretty from afar. It looks fine. And I love photography. It's just one of the biggest passions in my life, alongside all of the fiber arts, is taking photos of the stuff that we've made, like taking photos of the process, documenting. And yeah, I love all of that part of it, just documenting how and what we've made. And I find it's so beautiful to see things being made in the process of being made. And so the thought came to me, because I've had this conversation with other makers before, that when they see photos that are really beautiful, like beautiful photos of handmade things, that they feel discouraged. They feel like that it becomes inaccessible. They feel like it makes the craft, or it makes fiber arts, it makes handwork inaccessible if the photos of the things are too nice. Now, I'm interested in all of this because I feel very much like my role in this whole thing is to encourage more people to try these fiber arts, to try weaving if you've never tried it, to try a twill gamp if you've never tried it before, to try a new yarn, to try new techniques, to just try. And so much of what I'm trying to do is to try to make things accessible, try to make things appealing, to make things inviting. And I wonder if taking beautiful photos of things prevents people from wanting to try it. And that's a question that I have for you. Do you feel discouraged when you see beautiful photos of, beautiful knitted garments or beautiful hand-woven cloth? Does it make you feel like, oh, I can't do that, so I'm not going to try? Or does it make you feel like, oh, that's something that I really am inspired by and I would love to try to do that? That's something that I'm just very, very curious about. So that is basically all I wanted to talk about for today, is basically show you the twill gamp that I have on the loom right here, how lovely it looks. But when you come up close, there's a whole bunch of mistakes that I promise I will fix in the next one. But I'm also curious about whether or not it is a good idea for me to tell you about my mistakes, to show you my mistakes, or if you are more inspired to see how beautiful and perfect and wonderful everything appears to be. Very curious about that. In any case, if you like this episode, please do hit the like button. And if you would like to see more content like this, please do hit subscribe. We come here every Friday and we talk about something to do with knitting or spinning or weaving or dyeing, everything about the fiber arts, basically. We're very inclusive that way. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you in the next one. All right, bye for now.